At the flower viewing feast, the Empress's niece fell head over heels for her childhood sweetheart at first sight. Ignoring the betrothal between our two families, she forcibly sought the Empress's approval for marriage. I was forced to become the childhood sweetheart's concubine after marriage. The childhood sweetheart spoke coldly to her, yet she always welcomed him with a smile, and kept the household perfectly orderly. As days passed, everyone praised her for being virtuous and tolerant, and even the childhood sweetheart's gazes gradually grew more affectionate, but due to my status as a concubine, I bore more grievances and quarrels with the childhood sweetheart, and eventually my love faded. Not long after a miscarriage, I died in sorrow before death. The childhood sweetheart held her hand and told me, "The thing I regret most in this life is not having communicated our feelings with Wana early on. If there is a next life, don't cling to me anymore." I opened my eyes again. Returning to the moment the Queen arranged the marriage for me this time, I didn't hesitate and turned to marry my cousin who has long pledged his heart to me. Jilan, I really don't want to marry her. The wife in my heart is only you. Xie Changqing sat on the drum stool, his sorrowful expression identical to that of his past life. In his past life, he spoke the same way. We grew up together since childhood, and our betrothal had already been arranged long ago. I could not bear to see him suffer, nor did I want to part from him, so I told him, "It's all right, I'm willing to be your concubine." He tightly clasped my hand, his eyes reddening with excitement. "Lana, don't worry, I will not let anyone bully you, except that a formal wife's title is all I would give her." Now, although Xie Changqing seems to be helpless on the surface, he is secretly casting hopeful glances toward me. He is waiting for me to take the initiative to speak up this time. I'm afraid I'll disappoint him. I picked up a cup of plain tea to moisten my throat, then, under his expectant gaze, I spoke softly, "Xie Changqing, I will not be a concubine." His gaze froze, and his expression gradually darkened. "But the Empress has already decreed the marriage. Do you not wish to marry me anymore?" He was certain I could not leave him. Xie Changqing stood up and looked at me with disappointment. "Jilan, are you going to force me to?" I shook my head, finding it both amusing and ironic. "If you truly loved me, why would you make me a concubine? Moreover, even if the Empress bestows a marriage, it cannot be said to disregard the minister's wishes. If you truly are unwilling, a way can always be found." Xie Changqing opened his mouth to speak but hesitated, ultimately saying nothing, and shrugged his sleeves and left too. In a previous life, after the imperial edict of betrothal was issued, my parents and relatives urged me to reconsider one after another, but I remained firm in marrying Xie Changqing. I am confident that we share a bond that others cannot match, and I also believe that status and position are nothing but names on paper. Just after the marriage, Xie Changqing's unwavering vow to keep his word, he was never willing to stay overnight in Liu Ruyan's room, and he treated her coldly whenever they met. But Liu Ruyan seemed like a person without a temper. As the Empress's niece, she was practically humble to the dust in front of him. When Xie Changqing refused to see her, she would bring him soup and kanji every day. Even if she was ridiculed, she would just redden her eyes and remain silent, appearing stubborn and pitiable. Facing me, her love rival, she was also courteous in every way, leaving no room for fault. As time went on, people stopped saying she had stolen my love and instead praised her as virtuous and proper, possessing the demeanor of a main wife. Only I understood that her goodness was merely skin deep. The clothes and jewelry sent by the servants would always be accidentally slightly damaged, not obviously so, but enough to be bothersome. There were always some ignorant young maids in the courtyard who gossiped, mocking my status as a concubine. At first, Xie Changqing angrily supported me and severely punished these incompetent servants, but as time went on, he inevitably became impatient. "Jilan, could you be too sensitive? I don't know, those hurtful words are like fishbones stuck in my throat, invisible to others, yet I can clearly feel their presence. I am merely a concubine, without even the right to manage the household. It would be incredibly easy for Liu Ruyan to make me suffer a hidden loss. I have argued, I have thrown tantrums, and I have even questioned whether Xie Changqing truly cared for me, only to be met with his growing indifference. He gradually reduced the number of times he visited my courtyard, Staying in the study all day after the imperial examination results were posted, we had our biggest fight. This year's top scholar had an extraordinary presence, earning continuous praise from the emperor, who bestowed a marriage arrangement upon him. Unexpectedly, he refused the emperor's arranged marriage, citing that he already had a fiancée. I, this humble servant, in this life only love my wife. If I must take the imperial examinations and marry another, I would rather be an ordinary person and not enter officialdom again. I beg your majesty to grant this. Upon hearing this, the emperor not only did not blame him but praised his unwavering resolve, bestowing 100 taels of gold. I couldn't help but ask Xie Changqing why he didn't refuse the empress's betrothal at the time. If you could be as steadfast as he, I wouldn't be in this situation. Xie Changqing gave a strange, mocking smile and looked at me. If you were truly the daughter of a respectable family, why would you be so eager to become my concubine? I froze. Then, like a madwoman, I grabbed everything within reach and hurled it at him. Tears streaming down my face as I threw. Xie Changqing, you have no heart. He cursed me as a madwoman and left with a cold laugh, as if afraid of being contaminated by bad luck. When Liu Ruyan heard the news, she thoughtfully sent over a bowl of snow pear and white fungus soup that night. Xie Changqing stayed in her room that night. I also cried my eyes out. 3. Xie Changqing, having tasted the sweetness of it, completely changed his attitude towards Liu Ruyan. For a while, the two found it hard to part, as if they were a truly newly married couple. He even said to me, since our marriage, you've gone from being lively and unrestrained to the shrewish appearance you have now. I am sorry to you. I can't keep letting her down anymore. In the future, you'll still be a concubine in my Hu family. With me and Yang are here, they wouldn't dare neglect you. But our bond ends here. I looked at his familiar brows and eyes as usual, and at that I couldn't hold back spread in my heart. That boy, whose eyes were red and who swore to me, has changed his mind in just 3 years. And I, besides my status as a concubine, got nothing at all. My parents are aging, and several times I wanted to help but am powerless. I fear it would make them sad, so I never complain, only saying that everything is fine. That child came knocking at this time. I was in a daze for a long time upon hearing the news of my pregnancy, unsure whether to cry or laugh. Even if Xie Changqing doesn't love me, I still have a child in this long life. It would at least be a comfort, making it not so unbearable. But I never expected that Liu Ruyan would be so vicious as to not spare even the child. The incident of falling into the water that winter left me unable to conceive again. Liu Ruyan leaned on Xie Changqing's shoulder with fake concern, tears streaming down her face as she said, "It's all my fault. I didn't take good care of my sister. Please punish me, my husband." Xie Changqing remained silent for a long time, then said, "She insisted on going for a walk by the lake herself, so how can you be blamed? Besides, you're not even pregnant yet. This child is not coming at a good time." My heart filled with grief and indignation, I grabbed Liu Ruyan's neck, wanting to take her down with me, but Xie Changqing stopped me. I asked him, "Xie Changqing, do you regret taking me as a concubine back then?" Xie Changqing glared at me and said word by word, "The thing I regret most in this life is not having confessed my feelings to Yang sooner. If there is a next life, please stop bothering me." His eyes were full of Liu Ruyan, and naturally he didn't see that I was already bleeding profusely beneath him. Before my consciousness faded, I said silently, "Xie Changqing, if there is a next life, I will never marry you again." For when I came to my senses, I did not hesitate. I turned around and went to the Xie family to break off the engagement. Mother Xie, seeing me come, took my hand warmly and kept saying I was aggrieved and wronged in the previous life, the one who urged Xie Changqing to drive me out once he learned I could no longer become pregnant was also her, just a concubine, and since she cannot bear children, why do we need her? When I came to her house to explain my intentions, her expression immediately changed, and she said with disdain, "You usually act as if you're good friends with our Changqing, but now that you see you can't marry into the Marquis's mansion, you're running away faster than anyone." Her words made me clench my fists, but in order to break off the engagement, I had to swallow my pride. Xie Changqing's father was quite straightforward, only adding, "Regarding the annulment of the engagement, I hope you will not tell Changqing. I understood in my heart that he still had feelings for me at this time if I were to tell him. I feared the annulment would not be easily achieved, so I said, Jilan understands. As I was about to leave, I happened to run into Xie Changqing on his way back. When he saw me, his eyes lit up, and he hurried over. Jilan, are you here to find me? I knew it. You're always all talk and no action. How could you really abandon me? Seeing his entitled expression, I felt a wave of nausea. Turning back to look at Father Xie and Mother Xie, they were signaling to me. Swallowing my helplessness, I only managed to say, Xie Changqing, goodbye. In this life, we no longer have to be bound to each other or torment one another. I have resolved a major matter, and my heart feels suddenly light. I wandered the streets for a while before finally turning home. Unexpectedly, a familiar figure is quietly waiting for me. 5. Zhao Yang sat on the meditation chair, his clear and refined brows and eyes carrying a faint weariness. Seeing me, he straightened up, leaned back in the chair, and sighed. Shunzilan, I've ridden for 3 days straight, exhausted 2 horses to the point of collapse, not for the sake of listening to you refuse the engagement. I looked at him, and my eyes watered. In my previous life, I felt a certain fear toward this cousin. Unlike Xie Changqing, Zhao Yang frowned all day. Like a little adult he studied hard, and at a young age rose to become the Da Li Sai Qing, carrying a rare air of decisiveness and ferocity, which made him even more difficult to approach when I was a child. Zhao Yang said my handwriting wasn't pretty, and I didn't read well. Shunzilan, with your abilities, you should have memorized this article today. Why delay until tomorrow? I complained and cried to Xie Changqing, cousin is too harsh, he only makes me study, I can't go out to play with you. Xie Changqing bought me the most fashionable pearl hairpin to wear, but he was not happy either. Cousin, what's the use of a girl like you reading so many books? You're going to marry me in the end anyway. Although the little me felt he was wrong, I didn't know how to refute him. In my past life, my cousin also came to persuade me. It's a pity that I didn't get through to him at the time, and we ended up arguing heatedly. After my death, I wandered in the world for a period of time. When he learned of my death, my cousin hurried day and night, and after several days, he arrived at the Xie residence exhausted from travel. He said he would take me home. He buried me in the ancestral graveyard at my old home, taking care of my parents who could hardly live due to their sorrow. Later, he became a supreme official and continuously suppressed Xie Changqing, personally avenging me in a relived life. Seeing him, I am very happy. Seeing me shed tears, Zhao Yang was at a loss for what to do, and he hesitantly asked, do you like Xie Changqing so much that you're willing to be a concubine? I shook my head vigorously. No, I just remembered the past and felt a little wronged. Zhao Yang let out a long sigh and gently patted my back. Jilan, it's sad for a person like this. It's not worth it. Wait, in the future when we discuss the betrothal, cousin will find you someone 100 times better than him. I lifted my head upon hearing this and looked at him straight in the eye. Then cousin, would you be willing to marry me? 6. Zhao Yang froze, his ears turning red. He coughed a few times. You're a young lady. Don't say things like that casually in the future. Just as I was about to ask him what he meant, a servant suddenly announced, Xie Changqing had arrived. Remembering my promise to Xie's father, I reluctantly went out. Xie Changqing stood under the corridor, his face flushed red. His eyes were full of excitement and pride, as if he were displaying something extraordinary. I went to discuss with Yang and asked for a noble concubine position for you. Xie Changqing tilted his head up proudly, expecting me to throw myself into his arms with delight. Moreover, Yang has also suffered some grievances, she said. I don't ask you to treat her with utmost respect, as long as you don't be too cold when you meet her outside. Jilan, just for me, at least be a bit more proactive on the surface, and get along well with her, okay? Seeing him like this, that familiar nauseating feeling rose again, almost making me vomit. By your way of speaking, should I be overwhelmed with joy, then thank you for tirelessly finding me a concubine's position. I let out a cold laugh and asked him sarcastically. Xie Changqing didn't expect this reaction from me, and his face instantly turned cold, a look of anger on his face. It's been days. Why are you still like this? Did someone say something to you? Do you know that I'm forced to associate with someone I dislike and grovel before her, all for you? If it weren't for someone telling me a few days ago that Xie Changqing and Liu Ruhuan, were boating on the lake and had a very pleasant conversation, I wouldn't have believed today's words. Seeing my disdain for the position of your concubine, Xie Changqing's face twisted in anger. As he left, he sneered and tossed out a final remark. Shen Jilan, you will regret this. 7. Xie Changqing had always been a vindictive person. Even if the other party was me, it was no exception. It was the Empress Dowager of Yongguo's birthday, and I was among the invited guests at the banquet. Several young ladies who usually disliked me quietly pulled me aside and advised me, Jilan, don't be muddled about a major marriage matter. With your background, how could you be a concubine for Xie Changqing? I am at a loss how to explain to them because of the promise. Xie Changqing arrived at this moment. Beside him stood Liu Ruyan. The two of them behaved intimately, not knowing what they were talking about. When the conversation got lively, Liu Yang even extended her hand and lightly tapped Xie Changqing. Xie Changqing also laughed, glancing toward me unintentionally, with a provocative look in his eyes. He was deliberately humiliating me. People around them started to discuss among themselves. I thought Miss Liu would just butt in, but now it seems the two of them are deeply affectionate for each other. As for Miss Shen, she eagerly offers herself to the Xie family as a concubine, but perhaps they won't even want her. In my past life, I always thought Xie Changqing changing his mind was something that happened after marriage, so he had been interested in Liu Ruyan for a long time. My heart burned with anger, and in a fit of pique, I left the banquet. Xie Changqing followed me. Jilan, why must you do this? If you had recognized your place earlier, I wouldn't have had to teach you a lesson. Once you're married, you must never be so willful again. I find his words utterly ridiculous. Xie Changqing, is this your goal, to give me a warning before the marriage? Fearing Liu Ruoyan will be bullied, he frowned and explained, how can you think of me like that? We grew up together since childhood, no one compares to you. I'm just afraid you work too hard and will be talked about by others. I let out a cold laugh. No matter how much you discuss it, I'm afraid it won't compare to today. Don't worry, the situation you imagine will never happen. In the past few days, there have been even more rumors in the capital. My parents were so angry their faces turned ashen, and they went to find Father Xie and Mother Xie to argue. You're worried about your son's feelings, but you don't care about my daughter's reputation. I was also very upset, and just as I was about to go tell Xie Changqing the truth, Zhao Yang showed up. He brought betrothal gifts and asked me with a serious expression, Jilan, would you marry me? 8. Xie Changqing has been feeling a bit regretful these days. Jilan being a concubine indeed treated her unfairly. She sulked. Wasn't it because she liked me? With this in mind, he took the initiative to visit, planning to give Jilan an easy way out at that moment. I was trying on the wedding dress just finished. My affair with Xie Changqing had already stirred up a huge fuss in the capital, and my father, fearing trouble, insisted the engagement be arranged sooner. Mother wiped away tears with joy. Zhao Yang, this child of ours, we've watched him grow up from little. I think is much more reliable than that reckless one who doesn't know right from wrong. If you can be together, I'll be at ease. In this second life, I thought I wouldn't panic so easily anymore, but whenever I think of Zhao Yang's calm, composed face, I can't help feeling uneasy. When Xie Changqing arrived at my doorstep, I hadn't even had time to put away my clothes. Upon seeing them, his face lit up with joy, and he said, Jilan, I knew you were just putting on a brave front. You're actually looking forward to our wedding too, aren't you? I was so amused I laughed, and replied, I am indeed getting married, but not to you. He looked incredulous. Jilan, it's all over town now, who else could you possibly marry but me? I understand, when a girl leaves her home, she's naturally a bit shy. He looked in the direction of the red veil and added, however, the color of this veil is a bit too red. You've just arrived, and it's not good to be too presumptuous. I'll bring you some new fabric in a few days. I could no longer stand it and threw the teacup on the table at him. Xie Changqing, where do you get your confidence from? He was splashed with tea all over his face, but uncharacteristically, he didn't get angry and left with a smile. It's okay, Jilan, there's still plenty of time, and I'll teach you properly. Little by little, Xie Changqing left with a smile. his heart feeling as sweet as if it were filled with honey. As he reached the doorway, he saw Zhao Yang. "Cousin, why are you here?" After many years apart, Zhao Yang did not feel overly excited. He only gave him a slight nod. Of course, for Zhao's lifelong matters, Xie Changqing found it a bit odd, then thought that Zhao Yang lost his mother in childhood, and it would be normal for his uncle and aunt to help with his upbringing, so he smiled and asked, "My cousin has always been calm and composed since childhood. I wonder which young lady has captured his heart now?" Speaking of this, a hint of a smile finally appeared on Zhao Yang's cold face. "Wait and you'll know at that time." Xie Changqing smiled and cupped his hands. "Then let me first congratulate cousin 9. The day of her departure from the family is almost here. That day, Zhao Yang invited me to go out, saying he wanted to buy some items that a new wife would need. Genyuj is the largest jewelry shop in the city. Zhao Yang had something urgent to attend to and asked me to put the money on his account before he left in a hurry. I had my eye on a white jade hairpin with gilded details and was about to pay for it when a hand snatched it from mine. What a coincidence. I like this gold hairpin too. I wonder if my dear sister would be willing to part with it." I turned around and saw Liu Ruyan smiling, but with a hint of provocation in her eyes. Xie Changqing stood by, and the two looked like a perfect couple. I felt a surge of bad luck and reached out to snatch it back. "No." Liu Ruyan quietly leaned closer and said to me, "I'm doing this for your own good too. You're just a concubine. How could you be wearing something so fine?" Then she hung her head in grievance, tears brimming in her eyes. "Little sister, since you like it, I'll just give you this hairpin." Xie Changqing stepped forward upon hearing this, and grabbed my arm with one hand. "Jilan, give her the hairpin." I did not agree to him. On what grounds? Even in my past life, Xie Changqing would have sided with me at this point. Even more so, this hairpin was obtained by me first. He looked as if he was acting in my best interest, his tone leaving no room for doubt. "I'm doing this for your own good. What will people think of you if a concubine is seen fighting with the main wife over jewelry in the street?" Disappointment flickered in his eyes. "What's more, I have never mistreated you. Why would you make such a fool of yourself over a hairpin?" Liu Ruyan hid behind him, a smug smile curving her lips. I asked calmly, "What if I refuse?" Xie Changqing frowned, somewhat angered. "Jilan, if you insist on this, don't blame me for not giving you face in the future. Jilan is my wife. What future do you have to talk about with me?" Zhao Yang's voice came at this moment. 10. Xie Changqing looked at him in surprise, with dissatisfaction in his tone. "Cousin, what do you mean by that?" Zhao Yang pulled Xie Changqing's hand away from mine, and without answering him, he explained to me gently, "The diary court's affairs are busy, and I've caused you to be treated unfairly." I shake my head. "I'm fine." People around him has said one after another. I knew it. The Shen family's daughter has a good background and is intelligent. How could she possibly become a concubine? Just now, the two of them were still shouting there, truly shameless, utterly slandering someone's reputation. Xie Changqing's eyes were bloodshot as he stood beside them. "Jilan, what exactly happened here?" Liu Ruyan also called out sarcastically, "Sister, you are already engaged to Changqing. How can you be entangled with others?" Zhao Yang glared at them and said slowly, "When did Jilan agree to marry you?" Xie Changqing, unwilling to concede, wanted to retort, but suddenly remembered what I had once told him. "Xie Changqing, I will not be a concubine." His eyes widened in surprise, and he looked at me in disbelief, tears glistening in his eyes. "Jilan, were the words you said before true?" I walked up to him, raised my hand, and slapped him hard across the face. "Xie Changqing, who are you trying to fool with that wronged look? The moment you asked me to be your concubine, it was impossible between us. The sight of you makes me sick." 11. On the day of the wedding, I put on the bridal dress and waited in the house for the auspicious time to go out. Suddenly a rustling noise came from the window. I walked over and saw Xie Changqing jump in. His eyes were red, and his voice trembled uncontrollably. "Jilan, do you have to be so ruthless?" The maid in waiting was startled and was about to call for help. Xie Changqing shouted, "I'm only asking you one question. Once you understand it, I'll leave." He looked at me pitifully, as if hoping I would say something different. I smiled brightly. "Don't you see clearly enough?" "Xie Changqing, I told you long ago. I won't be anyone's concubine." Tears rolled down his pale cheeks, and he whispered almost in a plea, "Jilan, promise me, don't marry him, okay? I can make you my principal wife, I can break off the engagement." "I don't want to," I interrupted him. "I'm marrying Zhao Yang, not because I'm angry with you, but because I like him." Xie Changqing, "I don't love you anymore." Xie Changqing froze, his gaze turning resentful. "In your heart, what does our lifelong friendship count for? What can that Zhao Yang give you?" "I can give her the position of his legal wife. Can you?" Zhao Yang, who had appeared at the door at some point, his gaze slightly heavy. Xie Changqing immediately turned his attack on him. "Zhao Yang, I call you elder cousin, and is this how you treat me? You clearly know that we are childhood sweethearts, so why would you take someone else's beloved?" Zhao Yang walked over and stood beside me. "Is this really what you call liking her? By making her your concubine and deliberately humiliating her at the banquet? Xie Changqing, you're just too selfish, preferring to wrong others to fulfill your own desires. What's more," Zhao Yang straightened his back, his tone quite proud, "Jilan and I also grew up together. The bond between us is no less than yours." Xie Changqing's face, still tear-streaked, remained frozen in place, unable to snap back to reality for a long time. Zhao Yang gently took our hands. "Let's go, my lady. My mother and the others are already waiting impatiently." 12 After seeing off the guests, I collapsed on the bed, exhausted. "Cousin, getting married is really tiring." Zhao Yang didn't answer me, and in the candlelight, his face looked strange. I was startled and quickly asked, "Cousin, what's wrong?" Zhao Yang looked up, his tone feigning composure, though the slightly upturned corners of his eyes were red. "When you agreed to marry me, was it because you truly loved me, or were you just seeking revenge on Xie Changqing? If you're unwilling to marry me, then I can call off the engagement." When it came down to it, his voice sank, barely audible. I carefully cupped his face in my hands. "Cousin, I marry you because I like you. From the moment you helped me after my death, I began to like you. As for Xie Changqing, I feel unlucky just thinking of him. How can he be worthy of me thinking so much about him?" Upon hearing this, Zhao Yang's eyes showed surprise, and we looked at each other and smiled. A hint of romance entered the atmosphere. Behind the bed curtains, he gently kissed my neck and whispered my childhood nickname in my ear. I could barely take it anymore, lifting my arm and whispering, "Cousin, slow down." Zhao Yang looked up through a haze of moisture, his beautiful eyes full of lust. "Call me Iron." 13 After marriage, Zhao Yang nagged at me every day, and the once upright and stern appearance he used to have was gone forever. "My lady, spring is coming soon. By the way, speaking of spring, the spring nights are short and painful. I, who have lived 2 lifetimes, know I won't panic easily." But I was still flushed red by his blunt boldness. Finally, with the increasing affairs at the Dali temple, Zhao Yang reluctantly left the door, and before leaving he reminded me, "Jilan, when we get home I'll bring you your favorite chestnut cake." I finally had some quiet time and ran to the tea house to stay for the whole afternoon. A light drizzle drifts from the horizon, lifting a thin veil of mist. Pedestrians on the road hurry, rushing home. Xie Changqing is soaked through, appearing in front of me in a daze and dejected. "Jilan, you remember too, right?" Sadness spread in his eyes, like a forsaken dog. I glanced at him, nonchalantly. "You already know, so why are you asking me?" He hurried forward to argue. "Jilan, it's not like that. At first, I thought you were too pampered and just wanted to teach you a lesson. In reality, you are the only one in my heart. After you die, I will regret it for the rest of my life. I found out that Liu Yuyang betrayed you, so I tormented her for a lifetime, just to avenge you. Jilan, I regret it. Can we go back to how we were before?" He looked at me pleadingly, his eyes revealing a deep longing. "No," I replied coldly. "Xie Changqing, you don't love me, you're just unwilling to let go. When you love someone, you don't find them willful, nor do you want to discipline them. You only feel that what you give them is not enough. Don't come and cling to me anymore. You and your love are really not impressive at all." After finishing speaking, I looked toward the door. Zhao Yang was standing by with an umbrella, waiting for a long time. I walked over to him, and he pulled out a chestnut cake from his chest. "It's still hot." I looked at his profile under the umbrella, and couldn't help but call out softly, "Zhao Yang, I'm here, thank you." Zhao Yang smiled. "You and I are spouses. What is there to thank me for over such a trivial matter?" We walked away together, not glancing back at Xie Changqing in the rain. 14 When I saw Xie Changqing again, I learned that he had gone to the Empress to break off the engagement. I heard that Liu Ruyan had almost fainted from crying at home. She truly couldn't bear to part with Xie Changqing, and was willing to disregard her dignity to grab him in the street and demand an explanation. Xie Changqing pushed her away without hesitation and said, "If it weren't for you secretly slandering Ji Lan, saying she would stop at nothing and would rather be a concubine to climb up to the Hu family's wealth, how could we have become like this now? You look kind but are cruel at heart, completely unworthy of marrying me." The bystanders gathered around are puzzled and shake their heads in unison, saying this young Master Xie is too willful. He clearly couldn't sort himself out and drove away his fiancée, and now he's taking his anger out on Miss Liu. Xie Changqing ignored these words, and he crossed the crowd to look at me, as if claiming credit. Upon hearing this, the Empress Dowager was furious to the core. This Xie Changqing, he dislikes rectifying things early. He deliberately acted like he was intimate with Yang at the beginning. And now he humiliates her this way, simply trampling the face of this palace under his feet. She had him whipped 20 times and thrown out of the palace, and from then on he could not take the imperial examinations to enter the official rank. Xie Changqing had a pampered upbringing, and this act was almost certainly ruining his future. He didn't care at all and came to find me with joy in his heart. "Jilan, I've avenged you." At this time, I was troubled by how bitter the prenatal medicine was. Zhao Yang coaxed me gently from the side. "Good girl, have one more sip and I'll give you preserved fruit." I was interrupted by Xie Changqing's shout. When I turned around, I saw him standing there dumbfounded, as if struck by lightning. "Jilan, you're pregnant." I nodded, not wanting to say more to him. His lips trembled. His face suddenly turned pale, and he walked out without a word. In the evening, the servants who had gone out reported Xie Changqing had gone mad. 15 He fainted on the street. Not long after he left the house, when he woke up, he was delirious, crying and laughing. Xie Changqing kept muttering, "That's not right. I clearly married Ji Lan, and we had a child. I clearly married both of them." Hearing that, Father Xie and Mother Xie cried their hearts out and searched every renowned doctor in the world for his treatment. They all thought that Xie Changqing was stimulated into talking nonsense. Only I understood that what he said was true. I was unwilling to hide it from Zhao Yang, so I told him the truth early on. After he finished listening, he hugged me with heartache. "If only I had known you were living through days like those before, I should have come to you early and kept him from getting close to you at all." I laugh and hold him tight. "Those days are in the past, now that you are here by my side. I feel very happy. Fortunately, heaven can't stand seeing us suffer either, and has given us a chance to start over." 16 Everyone in the capital says that Xie Changqing is heartless and ungrateful, and that he is being punished for it. Now even a 5th-rank minor official is unwilling to marry his daughter to a madman. With this misfortune, the Xie family is completely fallen. Only Liu Ruyan still remains by his side, willing to defy her parents and visit Xie Changqing at his door. The Empress was so angry that she cut off all ties with her. "My Liu family has no daughter who is such a disgrace." This drew a sigh from everyone. One night, a confused Xie Changqing mistook the person and ended up sleeping with Liu Ruyan. After waking up, Xie Changqing's madness had largely subsided. He could recognize people, and his memory had almost completely returned. Xie's father and mother were overjoyed and hurried to arrange a wedding ceremony for them. Xie Changqing reluctantly married Liu Ruyan after ruining her reputation. After the marriage, Liu Ruyan was found to be pregnant. However, it wasn't long before she miscarried. Some people spread rumors that Xie Changqing personally aborted the child. He said fiercely, "You killed my child, and I will avenge him with my own hands." Liu Ruyan could no longer bear it and used her hairpin to slash his face. "I gave up everything for you, and you dare treat me like this." The Xie family was thrown into chaos. Meanwhile, I gave birth to a lovely daughter. The tiny baby slept in her swaddling clothes, her chubby face rosy, making my heart melt. I named her Ninga, wishing that she would have peace and joy all Her life 17. Xie Changqing cannot enter officialdom, yet he makes a fuss to go to the battlefield before leaving. He specially came to see me. The handsome face of the past is now covered with scars, looking quite terrifying. When he saw Ninga, he froze and couldn't help wanting to hug her. I hurriedly stepped in front of the child, and had the servant take Ninga out. Xie Changqing gave a wry smile and said to me, "Jilan, when I see her, I'm reminded of the child we had before. If he were still here, would he be as cute as Ninga? If he's a boy, I'll teach him poetry and letters. If a girl, you teach her embroidery and sewing." I interrupted him with a cold face. "Don't mention that child. You are not worthy. I gave up everything for you back then, and you disdained it. Now Liu Ruyan has lost all face for you, and you come to me again. Xie Changqing, is this your nature? So cheap?" Xie Changqing heard this and smiled. "Jilan, I haven't heard you curse me like this in a long time. You still have feelings for me in your heart, don't you? When I win glory on the battlefield, I'll come back and marry you. Get lost." A wave of nausea rose in my heart, and I didn't want to say another word to him. Zhao Yang stepped in front of me and separated them. Xie Changqing, not convinced, grabbed Zhao Yang again and said, "Do you know, in a past life, Jilan would rather be a concubine than be with me. We had a child together." Zhao Yang looked at him quietly and asked only one sentence. "Then why didn't she marry you in this life?" A single sentence made Xie Changqing fall silent. 18. The days passed one by one, and Ninga also gradually grew up. She is a spirited person, quite interested in investigating cases, and she spends all day staying with Zhao Yang at the Supreme Court. I was unwilling to bind her, so I followed her lead and went along. Several years later, Xie Changqing returned. When he left, he was still a complete person. He returned with a broken leg, and was thrown onto a horse to be carried back. After such a long time apart, Liu Ruyan's love for him had also faded. She said she wanted a divorce. How could the Xie family let this daughter-in-law leave? Even Xie Changqing, he would absolutely not sign another divorce settlement. Willows like smoke. "Didn't you say you love me? Now that you see I've broken a leg, you don't love me anymore. My life is over. But even if I become a ghost, I will never forgive you." Moreover, Xie Changqing also began to drink heavily, and after getting drunk he would beat or scold Liu Ruyan. Liu Ruyan was not one to be bullied either, and relying on Xie Changqing's broken leg, she beat him even harder. Father and Mother Xie were utterly disappointed. In their twilight years, they managed to conceive another child, stating that from then on, they would no longer count on Xie Changqing. The two tormented each other for several years. Finally, Liu Ruyan could bear it no longer and set fire to Xie Changqing, killing him. When Ninga and her father were investigating the case, they once curiously asked me, "Mother, I heard you know Xie Changqing. Who is Xie Changqing?" I just took a sip of tea and told her, "Just an unimportant person." 19. Ninga normally goes out to investigate cases, but tonight she returns in a fit of rage. I hurried to ask her what happened. "Mother." She is both angry and aggrieved. "Xiaobai says I'm a girl who's always out and about, not at all demure like other girls." Although she was upset, she couldn't help but doubt herself. "Mother, did I really do something wrong? Xiaobai said he likes me, that's why he said it." I patiently held her in my arms. "Ninga, do you like investigating cases?" She nodded vigorously. "Then, if you had to never investigate cases again and only live by watching your husband's mood, would you be willing?" She thought for a moment, then shook her head and said, "I don't want to." I laughed. "Yes, that's you. If anyone says there's something wrong with you, it's not your problem, it's that person's heart isn't pure. Clearly only 3 parts of liking you, yet they insist on calling it 10. Ninga, remember, the person who truly loves you will love you no matter what you are like, and will never let you suffer." She chuckled after hearing this. "Mother, I remember." In the distance, the setting sun dyed the sky a deep red, and the birds returning to their nests chirped incessantly. Zhao Yang stood in the sunset, his white robe tinged with gold. He lifted the chestnut cake in his hand and waved gently at us. "Jilan, come over." I stood up, ran over with my daughter, toward a sky that belongs to us. Epilogue. Zhao Yang's notebook. In the first year of Yongxi, spring, the Dali temple had just a new on hand. I pulled 3 all-nighters and finally sorted out a clue. When I returned home it was the hour of high. The courtyard lit bright as day. Gilan was still waiting under the lamp. She held thread and needle, sewing a tiny garment for the unborn child, and when she saw me return, she hurried up to heat some soup. Cousin, you've grown thin. She brought a bowl of lotus seed soup, frowning with worry. I took the bowl and drank it in one swallow. Suddenly I remembered many years ago, when she was still a little maid, she did the same, carrying the bowl, standing on tiptoe to hand it to me. Cousin, drink your medicine. Back then she had just been punished by her master for copying books, and her nose was red from crying, yet she still remembered the master's admonition to bring me wind-cold medicine. I kept a straight face at the time and only said, "Put it over there." She pouted in grievance, put the bowl down, and ran away. Now that I think about it, I really am a block of wood. What is cousin thinking? Gilan's voice pulled me back to reality. Thinking about you when you were little. I set the bowl down and held her hand. Back then you were afraid of me, weren't you? She was taken aback for a moment, then smiled. It's not fear, it's reverence, cousin. You are too amazing. You understand everything. I always feel like you're a bodhisattva in a temple, someone to be admired from afar. And now, she leaned closer, blinking her eyes. Now I feel like a bodhisattva who has descended to earth, who can also be jealous, who also likes to sleep in, and who even snatches my chestnut cakes. I couldn't help but laugh out loud, pulling her into my embrace. I whispered, Gilan, marrying you in this life is my greatest blessing. She leaned against my chest, her voice muffled. Cousin, me too. Ninga. On the day Ninga's first month passed, the Zhao Manor held a banquet. There weren't many guests, only close family and friends. Mother held Ninga and wouldn't let go, constantly saying, "This child's eyes and brows resemble Gilan's, and her mouth is like Yangus. She's bound to be a beauty when she grows up." Ninga was very well behaved, not crying or fussing. She opened her black grape-like eyes and looked around, as if surveying this unfamiliar world. Gilan leaned on my shoulder and whispered, "Cousin, who do you think Ninga will grow up to be like?" "Like you." I didn't hesitate. "As smart as you, as stubborn as you, as impossible to deal with as you." She glared at me. How could I be helpless? "Yes," I nodded seriously. "You made me willingly wait for more than 10 years, and you still say no." Gilan blushed, turning her head away and ignoring me. I looked at the slightly reddened tips of her ears, and my heart felt as if it were filled with honey. Not long after Ninga's full moon, Gilan's body gradually recovered. She was restless again and began busying herself, taking care of affairs up and down the household, running everything in the manor in an orderly manner. Mother often said, "Yanga married a good daughter-in-law. This old woman, can enjoy a peaceful life." Gilan just laughed when she heard it. Mother is still young herself, saying such things without fear of exhausting the daughter-in-law. The two women-in-law got along harmoniously, which saved me a lot of worry. 3. Xie Changqing's madness and awakening. News of Xie Changqing's madness reached my ears as a joke carried by the servants. It is said he spends his days in the mansion crying and laughing, muttering the name Gilan, sometimes shouting Lana, Lana into the air. Xie father and Xie mother consulted every renowned doctor in the capital, but to no avail. When Gilan heard of it, she only gave a faint "oh" and went on lowering her head to sew socks for Ninga. I knew her heart was already unmoved, so I said nothing more. It was Liu Ruyan who, on the contrary, did not abandon him. She stayed by Xie Changqing's side every day, feeding him medicine and wiping his body, bearing toil and hardship. The empress was furious and cut off relations with her, but she did not care, saying, "Since I married him, I am his person." These words reached Gilan's ears. She was silent for a long time and finally said, "The poor have their faults, too." "I know she is," referring to Liu Ruyan, and also Xie Changqing. Another year passed, and Xie Changqing's madness suddenly eased by more than half. It is said that he mistook someone for another, taking Liu Ruyan, Liu Ru Yang, as Gilan, and they became husband and wife. In fact, after waking, he recognized the reality, and most of his memories recovered. After marriage, Liu Ru Yang soon became pregnant, but Xie Changqing did not rejoice. Instead, he often kept a cold face, treating Liu Ru Yang indifferently. Liu Ru Yang endured for several months, And finally, during an argument, she cried out, "Xie Changqing, I have done so much for you. Is there room in your heart only for that Shenzilan?" Xie Changqing sneered, "Are you worthy to compare with her?" Liu Yu Yang grew frantic, slamming the cup down. "Am I not worthy? She is nothing but a abandoned wife, rushing to be your concubine, and you still won't have her." Xie Changqing's expression changed drastically, and he slapped her across the face. This slap shattered Liu Ruyan's last shred of hope. 4. Abortion and rupture. Liu Ruyan's child was not kept. It was said to be a miscarriage, but the servants in the mansion privately argued that the child was aborted by Xie Changqing himself. He fed Liu Ruyan a bowl of saffloed wine and said, "You do not deserve to carry my child." When Liu Wanyan woke up, she acted like she went crazy and pounced on Xie Changqing, slashing his face with a hairpin. Xie Changqing, having ruined his own appearance, did not dodge or flinch. Instead he smiled and said, "I find this face of yours disgusting just to look at. Now we're even." Liu Ruoyan fell into complete despair and was estranged from Xie Changqing. Although they lived under the same roof, they were like two strangers, ignoring each other. His parents' hair turned white with worry, but they were powerless. They had thought of finding another concubine for Xie Changqing to continue the family line, but Xie Changqing absolutely refused. He said, "I will never marry anyone else in this lifetime." Liu Yu Yang heard this, and sneered, "It's not that you don't want to marry, it's that you can't marry." The two of them fought again. Chapter 5. Jilan's release. When Ninga was 3, Jilan took her outside the city to burn incense. As they passed by the Xie residence, the carriage suddenly stopped. Jilan lifted the carriage curtain, and saw Xie Changqing standing at the door, his face covered in scars, staring blankly at their carriage. "Lana," he muttered softly. Jilan did not get off the carriage, but only told the coachman, "Go." Ninga curiously asked, "Mother, who is that person?" Jilan patted her head, "A person who has nothing to do with us." As the carriage rolled by, Xie Changqing's silhouette gradually disappeared into the dust. Jilan leaned against the carriage wall, closed her eyes, and her heart was calm, with only a faint sense of relief. Back home, Zhao Yang had already prepared dinner. He didn't ask anything, but he served her a bowl of soup and said, "Drink it while it's hot." Jilan took the bowl, her eyes suddenly reddening. "Cousin, thank you." Zhao Yang smiled. Between husband and wife, there is no need for thanks. 6. Zhao Yang's jealousy. When Ninga was 5 years old, Zhao Yang discovered something that made him very uncomfortable. The Dali Temple had a new young chief clerk named Lin Qingyuan, the Tan Hualang from last year. He was handsome and talented, and still unmarried. He was ordered to the Zhao residence to deliver official documents when he happened to encounter Jilan. Jilan was in the yard teaching Ninga to read. The sunlight spilled over her, making her skin as white as jade, her brows and eyes picturesque. Lin Qingyuan was spellbound, so much so that he forgot to bow. Jilan didn't particularly pay attention, politely greeted her, and continued teaching Ninga to read. Lin Qingyuan, after returning to the Dali Temple, asked his colleagues about Lady Zhao in an oblique way. A colleague smiled and said, "Don't even think about it. Lord Zhao and his wife have known each other since they were children. Their bond is very strong." Lin Qingyuan sighed and gave up hope from then on, but Zhao Yang still found out those days. He came home earlier than usual, sticking to Jilan all day. Even Ninga complained, "Daddy, why are you always following Mommy? Don't you want Ninga anymore?" Zhao Yang said righteously, "Your mother is my wife, of course I have to follow her." Jilan was unsure whether to laugh or cry. "Cousin, have you heard something?" "No," Zhao Yang said with a straight face. "I just feel I should spend more time with you." Jilan couldn't help but laugh softly, leaning close to his ear to say in a low voice, "Cousin, you look so cute when you're jealous." Zhao Yang's ears reddened. He turned his head away, ignoring her. Section 7. Ninga's betrothal. When Ninga was 16, she had grown tall and graceful. She inherited Jilan's looks and Zhao Yang's intelligence, yet she also possessed her own stubbornness. She enjoyed solving cases, spending her days accompanying Zhao Yang in and out of the Dali Temple. In the capital city, everyone knew that Secretary Zhao's daughter was a female detective. Many suitors came to ask for her hand, but Ninga didn't show interest in any of them. Jilan asked her, "Just what kind of man do you prefer?" Ninga pondered for a moment. At least someone like my father, capable in both scholarship and martial skill, and also not ashamed of my being out in public. Jilan laughed. That's quite a high standard you've set. Ninga stuck out her tongue. Of course, I am the daughter of Zhao Yang and Shen Jilan. Not long after, a new Shaoqing arrived at Dali Temple. His surname was Ji Yu, his given name was Zhao, and he was a former top scholar. Not only was this man learned, but he was also skilled in martial arts. What was even rarer was that he greatly admired Ninga's investigative abilities. The two met through their work and gradually developed feelings for each other. Jiyu Zhao once said to Ninga, "Miss Zhao, you are the most special woman I have ever met. I never thought it was inappropriate for women to investigate cases. On the contrary, I think you are remarkable." When Ninga heard this, her heart felt like a little rabbit was thumping wildly inside. Initially, Zhao Yang had reservations about the person who stole his daughter, but after observing for a while, he had to admit that Jiyu Zhao was a promising talent. He said to Jilan, "This kid has a bit of my old style." Jilan teased with a smile, "You weren't as good with your words as he is back then." Zhao Yang retorted, "When was I not good with my words? Didn't I say I wanted to marry you?" Jilan thought for a moment. "You said, 'Are you willing to marry me?' without a single nice word." Zhao Yang was speechless. Chapter 8. The end of Xie Changqing and Liu Ruyan tormented each other for more than 10 years, and finally the ending arrived. It was a winter night, and a large fire suddenly broke out at the Xie residence. The blaze was violent, and by the time the firefighters arrived, the entire courtyard had already burnt to ruins. Xie Changqing died in the fire. It is said he had been hugely drunk at the time and didn't even try to escape. Liu Ruyan happened to have survived and walked out. She stood before the ruins, face not full of sorrow but relieved. The authorities investigated for a long time, and finally ruled it an accidental fire. But in the capital, everyone knew the fire was set by Liu Ruyan. Liu Ruyan was sentenced to banishment. Before departure, she asked someone to deliver a letter to Jilan. The letter contained only one sentence: "You won, Shenzhelan." Jilan finished reading the letter and threw it into the fire pit. The flames licked the pages and quickly turned them to ashes. "I didn't win," she whispered. "I just chose the right path." Zhao Yang hugged her from behind, his chin resting on her shoulder. "Zilan, don't think about those things. Let the past go." Jilan nods and leans into his embrace. Outside the window, snow falls silently. 9. Ninga's marriage. The day Ninga gets married, Zhao Yang's eyes redden. He personally placed his daughter's hand into Jiyu Zhao's and instructed, "Treat her well, or I won't let you off." Jiyu Zhao solemnly nodded. "Father-in-law, rest assured, your son-in-law will not fail Ninga." Ninga got into the sedan chair, and the sound of gongs and drums gradually faded away. Zhao Yang stood at the doorway, unwilling to go back for a long time. Jilan pulled him. "Cousin, our daughter is grown up. She has to get married eventually." Zhao Yang muttered, "I know, but I just can't bear to part with it." Jilan smiled. "When you married me back then, my father-in-law said the same thing." Zhao Yang was startled for a moment, then laughed as well. "My father-in-law back then often gave me look after look." The two looked at each other and smiled, and they returned to the residence hand in hand. Old age, time flies, and in the blink of an eye, Jilan and Zhao Yang have both passed the age of 50. Ninga has had a son and a daughter. Jiyu Zhao's career has been smooth, and he has reached the position of minister. The young couple are deeply in love and have never argued. Jilan often stays at Ninga's residence, teaching her granddaughter embroidery and reading. Zhao Yang, on the other hand, is pestered by his grandson to recount cases from Dali Temple, speaking with great animation. The matter of Xie Changqing and Liu Ruyan is something no one mentions anymore. Occasionally, an elder might bring it up, only to shake their head and sigh. Fate plays its tricks. Jilan would sometimes sit alone in the courtyard, lost in thought as she gazed at the old locust tree. Zhao Yang knew what she was thinking about and didn't disturb her, simply sitting by her side in silence, accompanying her. As they watched the sunset, "Cousin," Jilan suddenly said, "do you think we'll be together in the next life?" Zhao Yang thought for a moment. "Yes, we will." "Why are you so sure?" "Because I will find you." He held her hand. "No matter where you are, no matter who you are, I will find you. Jilan's eyes reddened slightly as she leaned on his shoulder. Then I'll wait for you. As the sun sets, the afterglow falls on the two of them, gilding them in a layer of golden light. 11. Epilogue. The winter of Yongshi's 40th year, Zhao Yang fell ill. The imperial physicians said it was due to overwork, and medicine was of no avail. Jilan stayed by his bedside day and night, feeding him medicine and wiping his body, never leaving his side. Zhao Yang held her hand and said weakly, Jilan, I've had a very happy life. Jilan holding back her tears. Cousin, you promised me you won't die in front of me. Zhao Yang smiled. I changed my mind. In the next life, I'll let you go first, so you won't be sad. Jilan finally couldn't hold it anymore and cried against his chest. Zhao Yang gently patted her back, like in their younger days. Jilan, in the next life, I will marry you again. His hand slowly dropped, the funeral bell tolled, and the entire mansion was draped in white. Jilan knelt before the spirit tablet, not crying, but quietly staring at the coffin. Zhao Yang, you didn't keep your word, she whispered. We agreed to go together. Why did you leave first? Funeral hall. Outside, the snow falls silently. Chapter 12. The next life. Jilan woke up on a spring morning. She opened her eyes and saw not a carved ceiling above her, but a stretch of blue sky and white clouds. She lay on the grass, a small stream beside her, its water crystal clear. She sat up, looking around in a daze. In the distance, a boy was walking toward her. He wore a suit of blue-green robes, with clear eyebrows and eyes, and held a book in his hand. Miss, why are you alone here? The boy approached, frowning slightly. There are often beasts roaming about here. It's not safe. Jilan looked at him and suddenly smiled. The youth was taken aback, his ears slowly turning red. What are you laughing at? Jilan stood up, brushed the grass from her skirt hem, and walked up to him. Young master, she said, looking up at him, tears in her eyes. Do you believe in past and present lives? The youth was stunned. The wind blew. Peach blossoms fluttered down, falling all over them. The boy was stunned for a long time, then suddenly smiled. He extended his hand and gently brushed the petals from her hair, speaking softly. I believe you, the end. The first story ends here. Don't go away. The next story is even more exciting. To marry his white moonlight. Pei Jingxing sought a drug that would make me lose my memory. Wanqing is seriously ill, and her only wish is to marry me as his wife. Since you are unwilling to divorce, don't blame me for doing this. Relax. Once Wanqing is dead, your memories will return. My 6-year-old son was also overjoyed. That's great. I'll finally have a fairy mother. I forgot my past and agreed to the divorce. Pei Jingxing firmly believed that once the medicine effect wore off, the man who loves me as if my life depended on it would surely return to the Marquis residence. I never expected that my forgetfulness would last a lifetime. When Pei Jingxing came with his son to find me, I had already stopped loving them. Pei Jingxing, do you really think there is a drug in this world that makes people forget, father? Can you make mother leave quickly? Does Ye dislike Mama? She's fierce and ugly, and everyone says she killed her maternal family, so she'll definitely kill us too. I was brought to the parlor by a servant and happened to overhear the conversation between Pei Jixing and Pei Cheng'an. I had no idea that my own son saw me in this way. Strangely, I didn't feel sad at all. I suddenly pushed open the door of the parlor. Pei Cheng'an was startled when he saw this. Caught in the act, he immediately jumped up and said, "Don't you know how to knock? That's why I hate you the most." After speaking, he lunged at me to hit me. Pei Jingxing also had no intention of stopping me. I grabbed Pei Cheng'an's collar and raised him, my eyes cold. What are you doing?" Pei Cheng'an panicked and tried to kick me, but how could I do as he wished? I struck out with both hands, giving him 2 slaps. Slap. He had never experienced such a scene before. With a single cry of wow, she started to cry. I found him noisy and shoved him straight to the door. Pei Cheng'an, with 2 palm prints on his face, toppled to the ground. Enough. You actually quarreled with your own biological child. Pei Jingxing, who had just pretended to be dead, hurriedly pulled Pei Cheng'an into his arms. Biological child? Oh, I don't remember him. He doesn't look much like me. You. Before Pei Jingxing could finish speaking, I slapped him again directly. So noisy. Shenheng, are you crazy? Pei Jinghong's eyes were filled with Disbelief. After all, everyone knew I loved him dearly since marrying him. I have always been the one who endured all the grievances for him. He disliked me riding horses and going out, so I stayed within my own courtyard, never leaving. He disliked me practicing martial arts, so I learned poetry and literature instead. He found me not slender enough, so I ate less and dieted. He doesn't need to worry about anything in the Hu family, because I'll handle everything for him. Once, during a palace banquet, the third prince even urged him to treat me well, so I wouldn't feel hurt. He merely said, "Your Highness is overthinking it. Shen Heng is just like a mangy dog, you can't get rid of her. As soon as I'm a little nice to her, she'll wag her tail and come running back at that moment." I happened to hear him just laugh dismissively. He didn't give me a chance to explain at all. How could someone like me possibly hit him? Separation agreement. Give it to me. I'm too lazy to waste words. Pei Jixing did not expect me to be so straightforward. A trace of unwillingness flashed in his eyes. Do you want to get rid of me that badly? I am indeed getting a bit impatient. Hurry up. Who knows if your little crush will survive today? Could it be? Does his lordship want to arrange a bridal death? In the stalemate, a servant came to report, "Lord, husband, madam, Miss Liu is here." Miss Liu, Liu Wanqing, is my husband's childhood sweetheart. Wanqing is here, in this heavy rain. Does she not care about her own health? Pei Jingxing, upon hearing this, was so overwhelmed that he could not even look after the aggrieved Pei Cheng'an. Directly throwing the person aside, he hurried over anxiously. "Dad." Pei Cheng'an was stunned by the sight. It seemed that he didn't understand why the father who had always loved him could just throw him away and leave him. He looked outside the door in confusion, then glared fiercely at me. "Glare at me. No one's protecting you now. You're finished." But I happily took a step closer to him. No, father, save me." Pei Cheng'an was so scared he wanted to run, but how could he be a match for me? In just a moment, I had him in my grasp. Slap. This slap is for your disrespect toward elders. Slap. This slap is for betraying your own side. Slap. This slap. Oh, I can't be bothered to think of a reason. I just hit you because I wanted to. You. Pei Cheng'an sobbed so hard he couldn't catch his breath, unable to utter a complete sentence for a long time, and even then, his most beloved father didn't appear. Seeing the resentment in his eyes, I knew that not only I, but he probably hates Pei Jingxing and Liu Wanqing as well. Shenjie, year is still small. What can't be spoken properly? Why do you have to hit him? Liu Wanqing hadn't even stepped into the room yet, when her accusations began to ring out. Fairy godmother. Upon hearing this, Pei Cheng'an rushed towards Liu Wanqing. Liu Wanqing was held tightly in Pei Jingxing's embrace, not a single drop of rain touching her. However, Pei Jingxing had gotten half of his shoulder wet. I thought that seeing this scene would hurt me deeply, but, apart from the initial sourness, I soon felt nothing. I watched with my own eyes as Pei Cheng'an threw himself into Liu Wanqing's arms. Unfortunately, he had too much force, and Liu Wanqing, who had just entered, was almost knocked over by him. "Ah, Wanqing, be careful." Pei Jingxing reacted quickly and held Liu Wanqing in his arms. They hugged each other warmly, like true family. But I seem to be the one who breaks up the family and is the bad person. It's also funny. Jingxing Gij, I feel a little pain in my chest. Liu Wanqing covers her chest, looking pale and weak, gasping as if unable to breathe. Pei Jingxing's heart aches terribly. He pushed Pei Cheng'an, who was holding Liu Wanqing, away with a stern face. He rebuked, "Yeah, how could you be so careless?" Pei Cheng'an, suddenly pushed away, looked at Pei Jingxing in surprise, not quite understanding what was happening. But Pei Jingxing didn't understand his unease at all, and even frowned. "It's all your mother who ruined you, young master of the Hu family. Your conduct is so rash." Pei Cheng'an subconsciously glanced at me, with a face full of helplessness and grievance. If it were normally, I would have protected him long ago, and at this moment, I only crossed my arms and spoke coldly. "Look at what I'm doing. Previously your father died, without a father to teach you. Now you can pretend to be a mother and die as well." "Shen Heng, you," Pei Jingxing exclaimed upon hearing this, enraged. "Can you guys hurry up? I was already getting impatient. If you want to act, go to the theater. Just because Miss Liu is in a hurry to reincarnate, Doesn't mean everyone else isn't busy. Give me the divorce papers quickly. Stop dawdling. You're like a woman. So annoying. When Liu Wanqing heard I wanted a divorce, her eyes immediately lit up. She knew that Pei Jingxing's attitude was important at this moment. She quickly tugged at Pei Jingxing and whispered fearfully, "Jingxing Gidge, why don't I just leave then? Sister Shen, you're so sad you're saying hurtful things. I don't want to be the villain who ruins your relationship. Even if my days are few, I don't want to make things difficult for you or cause you sadness." When Pei Jingxing heard Liu Wanqing say this, his heart nearly broke. He quickly pulled her into his arms and gently comforted her. "Don't say foolish things, I told you I would definitely give you a home, but Sister Shen, she has good hands and feet. Why worry about her?" Pei Jingxing seems to detest my demeanor. Full of dissatisfaction in his words, he had someone bring paper and brushes quickly, and on the spot he wrote the divorce document for me. I reached out to take it, but who would have thought Pei Jingxing deliberately threw the divorce document onto the ground. "Get lost." Pei Jingxing lifted his chin slightly and spoke with contempt. 7 years, traded for a single word. Get out. If you say you're not sad at all, that's a lie, but if I am sad, could the culprit be any better off, huh? Thinking too much, I didn't go pick up the ones that were thrown on the ground and left away from the book. Instead, I grabbed Pei Jingxing by the ear with one hand, then slammed him to the ground with a shove. "Arth!" Pei Jingxing screamed in agony. Even Liu Wanqing and Pei Cheng'an were startled, stepping back in fright. "Pick it up." Pei Jingxing was not convinced. I directly delivered a kick right to his sternum. "Pick it up, or not. Come, someone, quickly. Shen Heng has gone mad." Liu Wanqing reacted, her voice in alarm. "Lord, madam," the servants, upon hearing, rushed over, ready to seize me. "Don't forget who your master is. Your submission contract is in my hands." The servant's hand, stretched out, stiffened instantly. In the end, they could only sheepishly step back to the side, pretending not to see. "Stop, stop, Shen Heng, you shrew. Since I've been called a shrew, how can I not satisfy his wish?" I suddenly kicked Pei Jingxing again. I gave this kick with no restraint, directly kicking toward the man's most vulnerable area. "Arth!" Pei Jingxing went crazy, writhing like a squirming maggot and rolling on the ground. "Stop, stop!" Liu Wanqing, seeing this, hurriedly stepped forward to protect. Slap! I slapped him to the ground with the back of my hand. "You, pick it up for me." I pointed at Heli Shu and said, I am, Miss Liu. Have you thought it through? If you can't obtain the separation paper, I won't leave. I'll count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Woo-woo, Sister Shen, please don't coerce me. 2. I didn't intend to split you apart. You had him for so long. I just borrowed him from you for a moment. I couldn't be bothered to listen to her nonsense. 1. Liu Wanqing suddenly snatched the divorce papers from the ground and handed them to me. Her movements were swift, nothing like someone plagued by serious illness. "Kneel down and take it. Don't push me too far," Liu Wanqing bitterly said. "When it comes to deceiving people, who can compare to you, eagerly becoming a mistress and then moving into the main house, I'm not brother Jingxing's concubine." "That's true, after all. Your brother Jingxing is so stingy he won't even spend money on you, and you even have to pay him back." "You, shut up. You're annoying as hell." I had no patience left. "What makes you think I'm negotiating with you?" I slammed the teacup on the table beside me, picked up the sharp, ready to slash it across her face. Liu Wanqing treasured this face of hers above all else. She immediately sank to her knees with a thud, humbly handing me the divorce papers with both hands. I took the divorce papers with one hand and immediately waved my sleeve. "Someone." "Madam, what is your command?" The servants who had pretended not to be there rushed to respond respectfully. "Take my dowry list, have everything sent to the Shen residence, and leave not a single item for those 2 dogs." The henchmen didn't dare move, all instinctively looking toward Pei Jingxing. "Hurry up, finish moving and come find me to sign the deed of sale." As soon as the servants heard this, they sprang into action. Liu Wanqing, seeing the situation, was somewhat unwilling, and she hurriedly ran to Pei Jingxing's side to support him. Then, with a pointed remark, she said, "Jingxingji, look at him, our Grand Marquis residence. Do you think we would covet her Little dowry. Pei Jingxing's face instantly paled upon hearing this. Only Liu Wanqing and Pei Cheng'an were left unaware of what was happening. Shunheng, how bold you are, you dare to empty the Hu residence. In just half a quarter of an hour, the Yongning Hu house was left with nothing but bricks and tiles. Liu Wanqing's eyes reddened, cursing at me in anger. I paid her no mind and directly ordered the servants, "Go, smash that wall for me too. This wall was even renovated with my dowry, smash it back to how it was when it was dilapidated." "Stop, you're not allowed to smash it." Pei Jingxing, finally recovering from the pain, walked over with Pei Cheng'an's support. His face was pale, and with every step he took, cold sweat beaded on his forehead. "You wicked woman, you eat from dad, you use from dad. Why do you still want to snatch dad's things?" Pei Jingxing, "I eat yours, use yours, ha 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 ha, what are you laughing at?" Pei Cheng'an was angry. "Pei Jingxing, do you want me to help you? Recall, when I married you, how was the Yongning Marquis mansion despised by His Majesty, how the entire Marquis mansion was overgrown with weeds, with not a single old servant left at home, even the wall broken, and even thieves wouldn't bother to visit." "Shut up, get out of here." Pei Jingxing's pale face reddened in an instant from anger. Pei Cheng'an didn't understand. "Father, she treated us like this, and we're just going to let it go? No, it can't be true, can it? She's been supporting the entire Marquis's mansion all these years." Slap, "Get out, is this a place for you to speak?" Pei Jingxing did not dare to do anything to me, so he vented his anger on Pei Cheng'an. Because the commotion was so loud, a crowd of onlookers had long gathered at the gate of the Yongning Marquis house. I pretended not to see it, smashed through the wall, and then led the servants out of the mansion in a grand procession. "Shunheng, after this, I will make you cry and beg me to take you back." Pei Jingxing gritted his teeth in resentment. "Oh, when you die, I'll come back to the feast." The onlookers all laughed. Pei Jingxing, feeling ashamed, hastily called for the doors to be shut. After shouting for a long time, I finally remembered that I had taken everyone from the Marquis's mansion with me. In the end, I could only close it myself. This made the people outside laugh heartily again. I thought that was how it would be between Pei Jingxing and me. Little did they expect, that very night, the servant came to report. "Miss, the old madam from the Marquis of Yongning's estate has arrived." The old lady is Pei Jingxing's biological mother, but because she enjoys praying to Buddhas, she spends most of her time away from the mansion. It was she who, on behalf of Pei Jingxing, proposed marriage to me. She didn't directly torment me in public, but over the years, she's allowed Pei Jingxing to suppress me. In fact, Pei Cheng'an started challenging me at every turn. Only after she raised him disdains me, yet lives off my money. Just a shameless person. I don't see her, but she said, said what? She said if the young lady doesn't see her, she'll throw herself against the gates of our Shun manor and die. Still saying that everyone should know how the Shun family forced to death the Lifeline Helper. The Lifeline Helper, indeed. The Yongning Marquis household owes me a life-saving grace. If not, I would not have married in back then. Even the many favors over the years have been enough. Just right. I've been worried about not finding someone. Since she's been brought to my door, I'll deal with her together with you. I had just stepped out of the mansion. My mother-in-law, who only knows how to pay homage to Buddha, glowered and snapped. "Neil, still think you're the pampered old madam of the Yongning Marquis's mansion? Without my lady, your Ningning Marquis mansion is just a dilapidated household." Before I could speak, the maid by my side rolled her eyes and snorted at the old lady. The old lady was so furious that she nearly fainted. I'm too lazy to waste words, so I just beckoned and said, "Read." At once, a loud, bell-like voice came from the old maid, who began reciting a thick stack of lists: rosewood base with a white jade Buddha, 1 statue, redwood carved screen, 1 panel, 7 colored glazed. The old woman listened, bewildered. "Stop spouting nonsense and trying to trick me." "Nonsense," I chuckled. "Old madam, these are the things you've asked from me over the years to add to your collection, not to mention the daily expenses of the Yongning Marquis mansion, hosting banquets, and the money for gifts and return gifts. Each and every one of them was paid for with my dowry." "Nonsense," the old lady snapped angrily, my gaze fixed on the Buddhist beads in her hand. "Nonsense. Haha, you dare to tell me how these white jade and glazed Buddha beads came to be. This of course was given to me by my son in tribute. Ha 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 ha, what are you laughing at? How could the prayer beads that your filial son gave you have my mother's name carved on them? I grabbed her wrist and took the string of prayer beads. At the end of the prayer beads, the golden lotus base connecting the strings, there was clearly the character hung. The old lady's face instantly turned pale. This is what I got for my mother who passed away early. Why is it on your hand? Speak. The old woman was so startled she stumbled. Miss thought she had accidentally lost it herself and was so sad that she fell seriously ill because of it. Who would have thought it was stolen by the Marquis? Seeing this, the people around understood what was happening. At the Marquis Yongning's mansion, you eat from their table and use their things. How can you still have the audacity to cause trouble for them? Not only did they take things to eat, but they also stole. They're so scary. Why is this old madam from the Marquis mansion no different from a vulgar alley woman? Shameful. This isn't the first time the Marquis of Yongning's residence has been disgraced. Before, the Marquis of Yongning's residence was so down on its luck that they almost sold the tiles off the roof. Really, how come I see the Marquis of Yongning's residence as quite prosperous now? That's all thanks to the Shun family's wealth. Enough, the old madam said, her face gloomy, sternly reprimanding them. Then she turned around and pointed at my face, yelling, Shun Heng, what's wrong with us spending a little of your money? Our Yongning Marquis mansion saved your lives back then. Is this how you speak to your saviors? Hearing this, I smiled. Kindness of saving a life. It was Pei Jingxing and the old Marquis who insisted on saving me back then. You were the one who desperately tried to stop them from saving me, and now you talk to me about the kindness of saving a life. You, the old lady, never expected that. When I was young back then, I actually remembered this matter, miss. Over the years you have done so much for the Yongning Marquis house. It's more than enough to offset the debt of life-saving grace from back then. Besides, it was your good son who insisted on divorcing for another woman. You wouldn't consent. And he, Mylan, it's fine. Molan's eyes instantly reddened. Miss, I will stand up for you and endure the grievance. The old madam immediately began to flaunt her authority. My son wants a divorce. Surely it is because this mistress who manages the household is not doing well enough. I have been married into the Yongning Marquis residence for 7 years, handling all matters big and small of the Yongning Marquis household, turn a dilapidated Marquis estate into its current appearance, and then be told that it wasn't done well enough. Return what you owe me in goods, I will compensate you with this life of mine. But given the perpetual shortage and debt-ridden state of the Yongning Marquis estate, I fear I will never be able to repay. In this lifetime, my life is right here. If you can afford it, come and take it. I'll accompany you anytime. The old lady didn't expect me to say that, and she almost couldn't catch her breath. What a shame. Why didn't she die of anger? Throw her out. How dare you? I gave the guards a look immediately. Someone rushed forward, grabbed the old lady, and took her to the next street. The street is filled with respected court officials. The old lady's insults toward me instantly became a joke, spreading to every household. Pei Jingxing, for the sake of a fragile young maiden, abandoned his virtuous wife, and even allowed his old mother to come and insult me, trying to seize my dowry. This has become well known to all. Lad, why? Something has happened. That night I was sleeping soundly, when Moklan barged in. What is it? Moran has always been orderly and would not disturb my rest without a reason. The old madam of the Yongning Marquis's residence hanged herself. Dead, I frowned. No, saved him, I sighed. What a pity. I don't have much goodwill toward my former mother-in-law after all these years. She hasn't spared me any scolding. As long as something doesn't go her way, she will fall ill for a spell and force me to nurse her through it in the cold winter months. She deliberately makes me wash the clothes by hand in the scorching sun. She has me kneel step by step and go to Dongyun Monastery to pray for her blessings. Even when I was in difficult labor, they pounded on my door and shouted at the top of their lungs. Save the child, we'll save the child. I don't know how this person has the nerve to chant sutras before Buddha every single day. Seeing that I didn't react, Molan became anxious. Miss, that old hag is trying to drive you to your death. I naturally know this. I fear that as soon as dawn breaks, the streets and alleys will be buzzing with rumors that I forced my mother-in-law to her death. My reputation is as good as ruined. Pretty good, miss. Have you hit your head? Where is this good from? Molan saw me like this and became more anxious, because their stupidity will push me to a higher position. What higher place? Molan didn't understand, but that's fine. She didn't understand. The person I've been waiting for arrived just as the rumors were at their most heated. The newcomers were not particularly amusing, and their voices were somewhat sharp, yet their faces wore smiles more eager than ever. Miss Shen, the master has been waiting for you for a long time. Under his guidance, I met that person. I, your servant, bow to your majesty. Yes, the person I have seen is none other than the current emperor. Xiao Yang, the boy who was once shy and a little bashful in my memory, bears no resemblance to him at all now. He simply stood there, even in the plainest clothes, yet gave off a deep, imposing, and sharp aura. There's no need for such formality between us. Rituals cannot be abandoned, I insisted. Xiao Yang sighed softly. If it weren't for you and the old general back then, I would have died in the border town long ago. Now, you and I are so estranged. When Xiao Yang mentioned my grandfather, my eyes immediately welled up with tears. Back then, a mighty army pressed in. Grandfather guarded the frontier, and Xiao Yang, the third prince who was out of favor, was sent here to train himself. Who would have thought that even so, there were people who wouldn't let him off, while my grandfather and his companions fought desperately against the enemy. The prefect sought to kill Xiao Yang amidst the chaos. I pulled him away and ran, trying to find my grandfather, but back then, we were only 11 or 12 years old. How could we possibly match the killers? In just half a day, neither of us had a single patch of unharmed flesh left. Along with the pain, a deadly high fever followed. I knew that if I didn't fight for my life, both Xiao Yang and I would die, so, while Xiao Yang was in a high fever and unconscious, I changed his clothes and hid him in the ruined temple. Then I left a mark to guide my grandfather and the others. I myself pretended to be Xiao Yang, luring the county magistrate's pursuit. I was shot in the back by an assassin's arrow, yet I endured the pain and crawled and rolled into the river, because I cannot let them see that I am not Xiao Yang. The winter river water is terribly cold. I don't remember how I got ashore, only vaguely recalling someone steadying me in the icy river. His chest was the only warmth. Yang, you're being so muddle-headed. With such cold weather, if you're going to save someone, you could have let the servants do it. Why jump in yourself? I vaguely hear a somewhat distressed female voice. Mother, isn't it that I'm just watching this girl may not make it? I'm anxious for a moment. The boy's clear and high-pitched voice sounded. What, miss? The woman who had just been reprimanding them suddenly raised her voice a few octaves. Quick, throw her back. Mother, what are you doing? What am I doing? Isn't your mother doing it for you? Men and women should not touch each other. What if she clings to you? Are you actually going to bring such a thing into our Yongning Marquis manor? The young man, hearing this, grew anxious. This is someone you saved with great difficulty, and now you want her to die. My life is cheap. If I die, I die. Mother, there is no distinction in the value of a human life. Are you trying to kill your mother with just this little thing? The woman asked bitterly and with a broken heart. Just then, the sound of horses' hooves could be heard approaching from a distance. A rich, masculine voice rang out in front of me. She's a pitiable soul too. Come, get her to the town medical hall, and leave some broken silver for her. Hu Yi, the woman was shocked. All right. Continue on with the journey. That was the last sound I heard. I roughly knew I could survive, and I drifted into a deep sleep. Yet in my heart I filed away this grace. The Duke of Yongning Mansion, and the boy called Yang, Shen Heng. Perhaps because I was silent for too long, the person on the other end called out my name. I quickly came back to my senses and then smiled apologetically. Sorry, I've had too many worries recently and got distracted. Xiao Yang heard this and didn't argue, even showing a hint of understanding in his eyes. I think he must understand what I'm talking about. That old hag clearly intended to ruin your reputation, and Pei Jingxing, that ungrateful, shameless wretch. When he spoke those words, there was again somewhat of the look from those days, no longer like an exalted emperor who stands above all. I will not let them off so easily. But one sentence dragged my thoughts back to reality. I don't know how much sincerity or insincerity was in Xiao Yang's words, but all I originally wanted was a statement from someone in a position of power. Your Majesty, I wish to leave the capital. Upon hearing this, Xiao Yang looked at me in shock. I repeated myself, I want to leave here. Is it because of the Marquis Yongning's mansion? I interrupted Xiao Yang. It's because of you. Because, me? Xiao Yang was stunned. I nodded gravely. Your Majesty, isn't it to open up the trade routes in the northern border? I am willing to go. This voyage is perilous. You as a woman, I may be a woman, but I can still do well. The Yongning Marquis mansion will be my answer. Xiao Yang fell silent because the last time, I was so rebellious. To him, it was also because I refused to enter the palace, firmly insisting on marrying into the Yongning Marquis's household to repay a debt of gratitude. I did not want to be the bird in a cage, so I chose the Yongning Marquis's household. Repaying the kindness was just a reason Xiao Yang could not refuse, and now, my wings are fully grown, and I am no longer willing to be the Marchioness of the Yongning Marquisate. I was born to belong to this free and vast world, and I shall return to it. Treading through 1,000 mountains and traveling 10,000 waters, I will expand the Shun family's business to every inch of land I have visited. My grandfather and the others used their own strength to protect the mountains and rivers of Great Chu. Now, the Shun family remains only with female members, but we can still in our own way make this land more prosperous and flourishing. The Shun family has been loyal and virtuous for generations, never betraying the country. Women, too, are the same. Before I married into the Yongning Marquis manor, you know how dilapidated it was, and now the Yongning Marquis manor is so grand. Xiao Yang knows that too. All these years since I married into the Yongning Marquis manor, I have treated it as the biggest business opportunity and have managed it with utmost care. Although the manor has fallen on hard times, it still allows me to access networks and resources that only prominent families can reach. Back then, I married for gratitude. And for this as well. Do you really have to go? Xiao Yang asked. After a long silence, but I knew he had already agreed. Yes, I really have to go. Okay. Xiao Yang personally poured me a glass of wine. I wish you success in opening up trade between my Great Chu and other countries. I certainly will. This time, Xiao Yang personally escorted me back to the Shun family. He seemed to want to say something to me, but in the end he said nothing. He simply watched me quietly as I returned to the Shun family, just like years ago when he silently saw me off as I boarded the sedan chair to the Yongning Marquis residence. He may have some affection for me, but he is an emperor, and an emperor, while capable of loving the world, cannot love a single person. So, he knows I will not be the canary, so he granted my wish twice, sending me off to soar. Goodbye, Xiao Yang. That very night, all the rumors in the city about me nearly causing the death of the young noble consort's old madam were completely cleaned up. A single carriage directly sent the old madam and Liu Wanjing to the humblest, most austere monastery. I heard that there, one must farm by oneself, and everything eaten daily is also grown by oneself. Hard work, reciting sutras, and only 2 intervals of sleep. This is the life that old madam of the Yongning Marquis's mansion and Liu Wanqing will see in this lifetime. A month later, I arrived at the frontier with the caravan here. It looked exactly as I remembered from my childhood, only the grandfather and uncles who protected me had already fallen in battle, and I was about to leave this land to tread on foreign soil. Pei Jingxing arrived to look for me at this time. I didn't let him into the house, just kept him outside the courtyard. The man, who always kept his clothes meticulously tidy, was disheveled at this moment. Even Pei Cheng'an had lost a lot of weight. Shenheng, I've come to pick you up. Let's go back to the Marquis's mansion together. Hasn't your lordship forgotten that we divorced long ago? You personally requested the divorce decree. What nonsense are you spouting now? No, at that time I was just, get out. I had no interest in his excuses and raised my hand to close the door. Shenheng, if you still care about Liu Wanqing, then she's already dead. This was quite unexpected. Seeing my movements slow slightly, Pei Jingxing quickly said, she lied to me. She wasn't sick at all. To escape the nunnery, she actually set a fire. In the end, the fire became too large, and she died in the blaze with her mother. Oh, that's good. A bitch will get what she deserves. Perhaps I was too indifferent, which made Pei Jingxing anxious. I know I was wrong. I never liked Liu Wanqing at all. I just felt sorry for her. There are so many pitiful people in the world. I don't see you marrying them all back to the Yongninghu manor. I was a bit annoyed, so I interrupted him directly. Admit it, Pei Jingxing. You are driven by lust. You enjoy playing the role of a savior, basking in others' worship to gild yourself, because you are cowardly and useless, a waste. Only worthless people rely on others' value to prove themselves. Is that how you see me? Pei Jingxing was very hurt. I nodded heavily in agreement. Yes, no, it's impossible. You clearly love me so much. I understand now. It's that amnesia. Yes. That medicine affected you. Once the effect wears off, you'll remember. You love me, Shenheng. You love me. Hearing this, I felt as if I had heard some enormous joke, and I laughed. Pei Jingxing, you truly think there is such a thing as a medicine that makes people forget in this world? What do you mean? That's just a single sugar pill. A sugar pill? Impossible. That man clearly said, I forgot to tell you, my caravan saved Dr. Zhong's life, so what he told you was only what I had him tell you. You lied to me, my lord. What you say is as if you weren't the one begging for the amnesia medicine back then. If you hadn't begged, how could I have lied? Pei Jingxing's face turned ashen, and for a long time, he couldn't utter a word. You got your wish, yet you blame me for deceiving you. What kind of logic is that? Mother, don't you want father and year anymore? Pei Cheng'an, who had been silent for a long time, finally realized something. He suddenly widened his eyes and reached out to grab my leg, but I dodged aside. Don't call me mother. Go find your fairy mother. Right, the first ones who didn't want me were you all. Mother, Year was wrong. Please don't drive us away. Pei Cheng'an cried until his eyes were red, but I remained unmoved. Give it up, Pei Cheng'an. You don't know you're wrong at all. You're just used to a life of luxury and want to find a sucker to support you. I didn't. Oh well, if it's not there, it's not there anyway. I don't want to be the big unfortunate fool anymore, I said indifferently. I am your biological child. When you were after a bride back then, you never cared about this, right, do you? Remember now, I was a bit shocked upon hearing this, so poverty can cure stupidity. Pei Cheng'an is still young, obviously not as good at arguing as his father. No matter what it is, I don't care. You're just a biological child. If I want, I could have 10 or 8 more. This crooked one, is not indispensable. Pei Cheng'an hadn't expected me to say that, and he was instantly at a loss, and I no longer want to waste words with them. Pei Cheng'an panicked and tried to kick me, disturbing my peaceful sleep that night. I slept especially soundly. I never remarried in my life. They also took in quite a few children, boys and girls alike. I taught them very well. I believe that a land I have never set foot on in this life, they will surely bring trade there, a crucial bridge for communications between the Great Chu state and the outside world. Pei Jingxing died in the 2nd year after I came out of seclusion. I heard that he died in abject poverty, without even the money to hire a doctor, and he would look out at the doorway every day, hoping that one day I would return to that home. In the end, he was still shouting my name when he died. Honestly, it feels a bit awkward. I only had people send back the money, and held a funeral for him. That can be considered fulfilling the last debt he paid me when he jumped into the river to save me. And Pei Cheng'an, several times he wanted to see me, but each time he failed. The hardships of life have made him grow a lot. He became gloomy and silent, rushing around for money every day. Occasionally, when drunk, he would say I was his mother, and people would laugh at him for talking nonsense, so he became more and more silent. No one remembers the former lady of the Yongning Marquis's estate, but everyone knows me, Shenheng, just Shenheng, not anyone's subordinate. That's all for today's story. If you liked this video, please give me a like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions, you can leave a comment, and we'll see you in the next video.